Hello, caviar connoisseurs. Welcome to this week's episode of Sports Caviar post rivalry showdown weekend. I'm one of your hosts today. I'm Javi, as you guys hopefully know by now, and I'm joined by my really good friend here, Burn Nasty. What's up, man?
Oh, it's a good day, Avi. It's a good day after rivalry weekends. Yeah, I'm just excited to talk about all the games and especially the fact that I went to the Michigan Ohio State games. Great to join you, Hub. Great to join our valued listeners, and I'm just excited to get this episode off. What about our boy Bajan?
Bijan, where is he? Is he not gonna show up this week? Is he not
I
gonna
think
collect his paycheck?
I think rumor has it he's following the Florida Gators. He's going to take the rest of the season off.
Bijan is not with us this week because he was too embarrassed to show up for. Did he
Yeah,
pick the Gators last week?
he did pick him to cover the spread,
He
which is
did.
probably why he's eating crow. But no, apparently he is in good old Vegas. I'm not sure how you can be in Vegas for a fundraising event and a charity event, but somehow he has pulled that off. So we wish him
That
well.
that's what he's telling his wife anyway, right?
Yes. So the money
If
comes out of that bank
Natalie's
account will
listening,
be for
yeah,
a charity.
she's like, "How much did you donate to this charity? $10,000? I don't think that was what we
He,
discussed."
he was in a giving
Uh,
mood.
yeah. So thankfully, he's not here to defend himself. There's going to be some bashing on the
And
Gators, probably a little bit.
we apologize in advance, Jean.
He also took Ohio State. There's that. I don't know what he was thinking. He was drinking a little bit too much cider or what. I don't know what
I
they
don't know
drink
what's
in
in
North
that liquid
Carolina.
death he was drinking, but it killed his thought process.
So if you guys didn't know, our very own Burn Nasty, he was our correspondent last weekend. We sent him to the big house, all expenses paid, to report on the ambiance
Mm.
and let us know firsthand how everything goes. If you guys are listening to the podcast on Spotify or Apple, you can't see that Burn Nasty's rocking a Michigan versus everybody t-shirt, and he's just rocking it loud and
Mm.
proud right now.
And it feels good on me too, man. Hobby, I tell you, that was one of the greatest experiences in my life. Like seriously, just an electric atmosphere. That stadium, the tailgating, everything about it was just unbelievable. Loud. We didn't sit at all. 110,000 people. I think it was one of the record attendances there. It was just, it was just crazy. And it was Michigan football, Michigan weather. It was 28 degrees at kickoff. Us Florida boys were trying to stay warm. A lot of hand warmers in my pockets and my shoes and my hands. It was an awesome experience and just a great game. And of course, Michigan coming out on top as expected was just icing on the cake for us. That rivals the Florida State Auburn national championship game for sure. And that's a
Wow.
regular season game, but I'd like to call it was the first round of the playoffs and
Yeah, oh yeah.
Michigan showed up and proved all the doubters wrong that thought that, hey, you haven't played anybody. We don't really know what Michigan is. I think we know what Michigan is. They're the elite team. They're up there, deserve to be where they've been all year. Man, I can't say enough. It was an awesome game. And Ryan Day, I feel bad for the guy. He's now 1-3 against Michigan, lost the last three. His first season they won, yes, but he was gifted a pretty solid squad from Urban. Is there some doubting that, hey, man, you can't win the big games? I think there is some chirping. Last 34 regular season games, Ohio State is 31-3. All three losses, Michigan. We outrushed them 157 to 107. The team that outgains in rushing has won the last, I think, since 2000, actually. We did what Michigan's known for. We controlled the clock, pounded the rock. Hell, did you see that last Michigan drive? 8 minutes on the clock. We literally burned 7 minutes off that clock. I was hoping for a little more, but you did what you had to do and came in big in the clutch with the Rod Moore with the safety or the interception from our safety. So to
Yeah.
close it out, they rushed the field, which was awesome. I've got pictures that you can't tell. You couldn't tell where the stadium ended and the field started. So it was just a crazy scene, just memorable for sure. And to spend it with my niece's nephew and brother was special. Yeah, man, go blue. Even without Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, you have to give that guy credit. He's going to be a head coach here soon, if not
Yeah.
possibly for Michigan, if our boy Khakis up and leaves, which is definitely a possibility. I'd be perfectly fine handing over the reins to him. He had some gutsy calls. I think he definitely drew up some plays that kept us in there that were a little more aggressive than what you would think from a back, like a fill-in head coach. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, but I feel good about it.
Michigan just took the reins from the beginning, and they never really looked back. It's not like your boys were able to go up by 3 scores, which we know that's what your goal is in the world of college football. But there was just that sense that Michigan had control of the game. Ohio State, on the other hand, they were able to keep it close and make it a
Mhm.
game. So that was at least exciting from the viewer's perspective. But there was never really a situation where I thought that Ohio State was going to win the game until the very end. Because you guys won by 6, right?
Yeah, 1-6, but yeah, we gave them a
So
minute to drive down and
yeah,
and
but we've seen it done a
oh
million
yeah.
times where that's man, you left a minute on the clock and it's a one score game and a touchdown beats you. I'm sure there was times throughout the
Mhm.
game there where you were nervous a little bit, but if there was ever a point to be nervous, it was then because
Oh,
like
you have
they
no
got
idea.
Marvin Harrison and you get the ball in Harrison's hands, he can take it
And
to
you
the
never know.
house. So it was exciting from that standpoint to watch as a non-biased viewer just to see because as far as I'm concerned, this was the Big Ten championship. I don't really care how good Iowa's defense is. They have one of the worst offenses in the nation. So to me, this was the Big Ten championship game. It was just 1 week early.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. I think really Michigan, Ohio State have top 10 defenses. Going against Iowa is neither team was going to be concerned. Ohio State has playmakers. You can't argue that. Their receiving
Mhm.
core is probably tops in the
Their
nation.
quarterback
So
looked okay. He didn't look
yeah,
he's not a world beater.
as soon as Michigan got pressure, he ruffled his feathers. He made some mistakes, which
Yeah.
obviously you saw. So I got a little nervous when Will Johnson, our stud corner,
Yeah, he went out,
got
yeah.
injured and went out, and he was covering Marvin Harrison. That's how he got the first pick. You know, I was like, oh, whew,
He
okay,
did a
next
pretty
man
good
up. We'll
job
see.
on
He did.
Maserati Marv.
He did. I
But,
think Marvin still ended up with 118 and a tutty, which is it's fine. Hell, that's good compared to prior games. He's usually good for 160 and 3 tutties. I think we controlled him, but again, we left.
yeah.
We had a 7-minute drive to finish the game and still gave them a minute at Marvin Harrison time. So yes, there was some nerves, but the defense stepped up like they always have and closed it out. I don't think I've ever been more excited in my life. I think my niece was jumping on my back. I was
Yeah.
hugging randoms. It was just
Hey,
it's a cool scene.
you're just like Bijan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, at least I know that's how Bijan was in the Bucks Lions game. He was hugging
Yes.
everybody around him I literally thought the Lions won the Super Bowl that day. The best part about making those trips to, well, college football in general live is it beats the NFL in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then when you add in the rivalry game and what it means to both teams, college football playoff was on the line. It doesn't get any bigger really unless you guys are playing for the national title, right?
Oh yeah.
So,
Exactly.
that had to be an amazing situation. Probably didn't really matter how cold it was. I think
No,
just you just
it
wanna be
did.
there.
It
Yeah.
did snow on Sunday when we were heading out, and I was like, I don't know if I could have done that on game day. Add the snow in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that would have been bad.
I don't think I was prepared with that kind of peril to cover
Well,
myself. So
yeah,
yeah,
you would need the snow gear. I don't really
yeah,
know. Obviously, we live in Florida, so when I'm watching these Northeast games and it's 20 degrees outside and it's raining and it's cold and the stadium's sold out, I'm like, "What? How are these fans there?" Like,
I, I don't know what they showed on TV, but there was fans there in overalls with no shirt. There was a guy 3 rows ahead of us, big old dude in sweatpants, no shirt, just sweatpants. That's it, no shirt, belly just out. I'm just and the whole game, and I'm sitting there. I've got 42 hand warmers in throughout my body, and 4
I'm
layers of
sure
clothes. And I'm
thermal.
like,
He's probably chugging some Theraflu today if I had to guess.
yeah,
Um So Michigan, in my opinion, they cinched their spot in the college football playoff. Obviously, they have to take care of business Saturday, but they will. Whether or not they go in as a 2 or a 1, we'll have to see because it depends on what happens with Georgia. There's a chance that Michigan could actually go in as a 1 if Georgia loses. Everything is well in the big house. So let's move on to another college football playoff situation here because obviously Florida State played Florida. The game started terrible for the Noles.
Mm.
In a situation where you're starting a backup quarterback for his second career start, I would assume that the blueprint was to start nice and safe with Rodemaker and get the defense off the field. Let's play field position and don't put him in a situation where it's high leverage, high pressure in the first quarter. And it couldn't have started any worse for Florida State because that's not what happened at all. Florida dominated the first quarter. They had, and a portion of the second as well. They had the ball for 15 minutes to Florida State's 1 at one point.
Oh yeah.
If you're the 3 and out right away, and then so that second drive for Rodemaker and you're backed up, it it couldn't have started any worse. I would say thankfully our defense stood up to the test. Florida was playing their backup quarterback who Max Brown didn't look good at all. So they better hope that I know that and they got that 5-star coming in, but he's gonna be
Hmm.
a true freshman. So I don't know who's gonna be their quarterback next year. I digress here. Let's go back to
Yeah.
the game. Rodemaker did enough in the first half to get that score into halftime. What did you think about Rodemaker's performance in the first half?
Their game plan coming in there was to be conservative, knock the cobwebs off, get his nerves under control for being a big
Yeah.
star rivalry game on the road in the swamp. But man, no, I thought it could not have been any worse. And taking that safety hurt me too. Like you said, the defense, that game could have got out of hand quickly in that first half. And I don't know if we would have been able to make our way back, but the
I
defense
mean,
for being on
Mastromanno
the
with
field.
that shank,
Oh,
it was
yeah, the shank. Jeez. He's been so good all
uh,
year. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
there's a safety and then a shank, and I'm like, "What is" I was worried right there where
And then
the only
but then
thing
we do
that
the fake punt
yeah.
and it
Oh,
works,
god.
but delay a game. I'm like, and what's your take on Dent's could be sack, would be sack, turns into a personal foul on
My
third
god,
down.
I couldn't have been any more irate. We were
I was ready
watching
to
the
throw
game
stuff.
with a couple Gator fans, and for the most part, they were in agreement that that shouldn't have been a flag
Mm,
whatsoever. There was one guy that was like, his fingers grazed the quarterback's helmet, so you have to that's hands to the head,
hands to the
and you have
face.
to call the play. I'm like, "What are you talking about?
Yeah. No.
Rewatch the play."
Yeah. Those you throw in the safety, you throw in that call that cost us and gave them pretty much
Yeah.
their first touchdown or only
Oh,
touchdown.
yeah,
And then you
for
throw
sure.
in the fake punt that, was not a fake, got called back for the delayed game. And
Yeah.
it just, the first half could not have gone any worse. But man, responding and getting that 90-yard drive to end the half, I think was huge to have those points, knowing that
It
we get the
was
ball back.
massive.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was massive. And that probably was the determining factor in why Florida State was ultimately able to come out victorious was that one drive. You can't go into halftime down 12-0 or even
No.
12-3. I don't even know what would have happened.
Yeah. No, but
They
really it's that defense, man. That defense on the second half.
yeah,
If you look at the stats, they gave up, I think, total yards 48 in the second half. Fourth quarter, negative
yeah,
15.
3 points.
Six sacks, 2.5 by our boy Verse, who I think, man, we've been waiting for
Oh,
that. He
yeah.
dominated. He got after Max. That was good to see. I think we had 11 tackles for loss. So our defense said, "Hey, look, we've got to take this over for Tate. He can't do this alone. We got to get him in the right situations," and they did. And man, it was, thank God, wasn't the prettiest win, but that's a W, and that's a tough
Yeah.
place to play. And it's rivalry week. In the day, you throw the records out the door.
Yeah, no, I agree, and the line was 6.5 if Florida State wins by 9. I don't know if the committee looks at stuff like that, but as far as game control is concerned and margin of victory when they're looking at things, I'm wondering if they're looking at the expectation of this was supposed to be within a touchdown. Florida State won by 9. They basically did what they were supposed to do. I'm not sure if they actually look at that or if they, in their minds, they're like, we want to see more. I could see them wanting to see more out of Rodemaker if that's going to
Hmm.
come down to a parsing of hairs because he didn't really look that good in my opinion at all. He he hit a couple throws. I do think that Keon Coleman should have caught that one in the end zone.
Yes, for
It
sure.
was high. I think Maserati Marv would have caught that. I'll say that. And then, but if you're Rodemaker, you have to learn from that and understand that when you have the coverage that you are wanting and desiring over there one on one with Coleman, you have to trust that he's going to win and put the ball in the breadbasket right there.
Yeah.
There's no reason to sail it. Put it where Coleman's going to catch it. It's one on one. He's going to catch it, but just make it a catchable ball for him at least.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
agree.
Unfortunately, we had to settle for a field goal there, and then you take away the 4 points that Florida got on the gift with the roughing the passer. In my eyes, that was like a 2 touchdown victory.
But
Yeah,
yeah, I think the committee is going to look and say we desire more. But I think it's really just going to be on the offensive side, right? If you look at what we did on defense and what we did to Florida, I think that's a pretty dominant performance, and they should take that
I
into
really
account.
don't. Yeah, I agree.
But
If
yes, it's the first game. First game. It's Tate's first game. They're going to hold it against, which at least I think, in my opinion. But after he's got to show up in Louisville, and I think that's what's like the Florida game has prepped him, and now he knows that he's just going to get more comfortable and he's going to get
yeah,
better each week. It'll be interesting what
Louisville is
happens
better
in
than
Louisville.
Florida though, so
Yeah,
there's that.
it's not going to get any easier.
Yeah, and the conditions, it's supposed to be wet and cold, and I guess we'll have to see what happens there. I know that Brock Lane only came into the game for 3 plays,
3 plays, yeah,
but what I liked about him is that he got right in and threw the ball right away. He wasn't
yeah.
scared, and they weren't scared to call a passing play, and you could tell how much quicker he is than Roderick to get out of the
It,
pocket as well.
it excites you for next year. I think he's gonna right? Like he's got to be that
I
unless Luke
yeah.
comes in and just blows people away. But I think Luke gets red shirted and then Brock takes the reins next year. That's next year. But
Duffy will be in the portal as well, I think.
oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
just to put a ribbon on everything that happened for the Gators, they missed their bowl. Obviously, they were trying to become bowl eligible in this game. They weren't able to do. Florida State ends up with their regular season undefeated. That's the 6th time in Florida State history that it's ever been done. Little fun fact: Florida has never had an undefeated season, so that just goes to show you how rare it is for a college football team to have an undefeated regular season. So I think no matter what happens here with Florida State, JT going out, you have to look at this team and be like, man, what an amazing season they've had.
Oh yeah,
It would be a
stellar.
shame if we don't win the ACC at least
I
after
know.
such a successful season. The 49ers, Dallas, Miami, they all looked really good in their victories. On actual Thanksgiving Day, though, that's not what anybody was expecting with the Lions. What the heck happened there? I don't think Detroit has to worry about their division with Green Bay, and Minnesota just looked absolutely atrocious last night.
Yeah.
But what that loss does is I feel like that cinches Detroit in the 2-3 seed no matter what now. I don't think that you
Hmm.
guys can compete for the first seed now.
No, it's disappointing. It just you go back to this is the Detroit Lions again. I thought we turned that corner. You win the games you're supposed to win. And I just don't get it. But, we've lost 6 or 7 straight on Thanksgiving, so maybe we should get used to this. But, the Packers come in there. We had just dominated them at Lambeau, earlier in the season. We're the better team, and we looked absolutely it was just embarrassing. It hurt.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. Most of my family is not really, they don't really care one way or the other. Yeah, and so everybody's just
You were
enjoying
up in
themselves.
Michigan at that point, or?
No, I went to my
Oh,
sister's in Orlando, and then we flew out of Orlando that night. But so we did
your family in
dinner earlier.
Michigan, are they Detroit fan?
It's actually just a buddy's aunt. Yeah, that we stayed at in Ann Arbor.
Oh, okay.
My dad's from Detroit, but like his parents have passed, so there's nobody left in Michigan for us. But a buddy of ours, aunt lives in Ann Arbor, and we stay with her. We're part of the family now. But yeah, my nieces and nephews, and they're all enjoying Thanksgiving, and I'm sitting there watching the game, just upset and people are like trying to talk to him, stop talking. But man, it's just disappointing. But yeah, again, we're 8-3. The division, especially after seeing the Bears take care of the Vikings, that was nice to see. So I feel good about the division. We still have a pretty easy schedule moving forward.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking even if we split 11-6, that gets you, and that's playoff bound. Probably at the 3
You
seed.
almost have to look at it in quadrants, though. And in the NFL, when you lose, especially a division game to a team that you weren't supposed to lose to, you just have to make sure that doesn't spiral into anything else, because obviously wins are hard to come by in general. Doesn't matter how elite you really are unless you're the Philadelphia Eagles. So I would say the one thing that you have to be careful in the world of the NFL, if you're the Lions anyway, is just making sure that a loss like that, devastating loss on Thanksgiving to the Packers, which you guys were supposed to win that game. You just can't let that spiral. So this Sunday, you guys have New Orleans coming up. It's not like New Orleans is the best, and they're not the worst either. So it's one of those games, right? You got to make sure you get the win there, and then you put the Green Bay loss in the rearview mirror at that point. But if you somehow lose to New Orleans, then yes, we're talking about the Detroit should have the division and they should be cinched in at the 3 seed. But if you lose back-to-back games, Green Bay, New Orleans, then there's going to be some soul searching that has to happen, and then you just really never know what's going to happen after that.
And,
You feel good about the New
we've done
Orleans
it though.
game?
Yeah, and we've done it before. Hell, we got blown out by Baltimore and came back and won. So
That's true.
we've gone through this where we were disappointed on our play and disappointed in the loss, and we come back and revenge it with a win. So I'm okay. I'm still worried because it's every game I'm going to be concerned with. There's no easy game now. Like I just assumed that we would beat Chicago, beat Green Bay, and beat New Orleans. It's like, all right, we're good. And here we are, and 8-3. If we turn this around, I feel good about New Orleans. I think we win.
The line is
-3.
-4. That's
Spread.
a close spread.
Yeah. But
It's at New
if we would have
Orleans.
beat Green Bay with that, that's probably at a 6.5, 7.
I don't know. They look at matchups a lot.
I think 11 is where we end up with wins and wins the division and gets us the 3 seed.
There's a lot of football to be played. You have to go week by week at this point. We'll be watching closely on Sunday versus New Orleans. I would say I'm desperately hoping that my Bucks decide to just punt on the season, but then they're only one game out of the first somehow in the loss column, and it's 4-7, guys. This is not gonna do anything for any fan base.
No, and winning that division and making the playoffs does nothing other than get you a first round loss. So let's
Well,
go.
you got to remember the division winner slides into the 4th seed, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they would play the 7th seed, or they would play the 5 seed. So
Who would have a better record than you guys?
they would have a better record, definitely. It would probably be like Dallas or something. I don't know.
That'd be a good one.
I do think that it's fun to make the playoffs. If the Bucks somehow got back to their winning ways here, I took the over under on them for the season, which is 5.5 wins or 6.5 wins or something. For my betting purposes, I'm really just clamoring here for some wins to start flowing through.
Yeah.
Especially after starting out 3-0. It was like, oh, that bet's a lock, and then it's not. The Lakers lost by 44 last night, by the way. 40. I was shocked by that. I thought maybe Davis or LeBron were sitting.
Yeah.
They played.
Yeah, they played. It's bizarre to me.
Yeah, so I get that it's a different style of basketball now, and it's just a shootout, and everybody just comes down and shoots threes, and that's the way that there's hardly any defense, and that's the way the NBA works. But even if Michael Jordan was playing in this era, I don't think that he would allow his team to lose by 44 points.
They don't lose by 44. Not a chance.
How does that happen?
It's I don't even, I can't even explain it. 44
It's like
points
a
in the
whole
NBA is
quarter of
insane.
basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a quarter of basketball with one team shooting and the other team not.
It's like they sat on the bench and said, hey, you guys play this quarter. 44 is a lot of points. And I don't know if I looked it up or not, but that's got to be one of the worst losses in LeBron's history, right? It has to be. He doesn't let that happen,
It was one of the it was definitely I don't even have to look it up. It was definitely his worst loss of all time.
and it's
I
definitely
think
one of the
that it
largest
was
in this season.
yeah, and for the Lakers history, I know the Spurs
Lost,
had
yeah,
lost by 40 a couple times, twice, I think. Um,
twice.
so it's becoming a trend in the NBA this season where if you're down by 25 in the third quarter, you're all right, just you can just take it all the way to the just finish
We
the game
good.
out here.
We're
And
good.
we can lose by 50 and we don't even care. Like
On to the next game.
it's that's a problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, as a fan, that this is you want at least good games. Like, that's not even a
So
fun game to be at, right?
no, yeah,
Like,
it's not. And I would say if you want good games, you should be watching the Magic right now. Okay. So the Magic
yes.
are in second place in the East right now. They beat the Celtics, they beat the Nuggets, and as we know, they beat Milwaukee earlier in the season, and they've had some really big wins in general. They play the Wizards back to back this week, and then they finish with Brooklyn.
I'm
How
actually
do you
going to the game
think the
tomorrow night.
Magic you're going to the Washington game?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I figured at least I should go and witness a win, right? Wizards have what, 2 wins this season?
They have 2 wins.
Yeah. And one of them's against Detroit, who now has like a 14-game losing streak. So I've been very impressed for the listeners that are not watching us on YouTube here. Good old Hob has jumped ship from his other teams that the Bucks and everybody else that was winning. He's now sporting the Magic outfit. He just switches to whoever's hot, which I love. So
The the Magic, the Knicks, I'll be donning that until June and when the basketball ends, but what
yeah,
I'm happy
but
about this situation for the Magic my question to you, can this be sustained? So they're second place in the East. The way that the season has begun for the Magic, do you think the Magic can actually play the way that they've been playing, and the results will come exactly the same way that they've been happening here for the first, 20 games of the season?
I so I think it's a sustainable, but I don't think at this level. Like, I will say, I think they fall back a little bit, maybe in that 4 or 5 seed for the East. But I think it definitely, as long as obviously health is important. But 7 straight wins, their best record in the last 12 years, or best start in the last 12 years. But it's crazy. No player is averaging 20 plus points, but they have
No.
six in double digits, which to me that's what shows that they're a very the depth is there. They're not selfish. And I think the one thing that's really putting them on the map right now and why they are where they are is defense. They're tied. They're tied at the top at the defensive rating. So I think that's where it's at. And we can sustain it because we have the length. We have those players that are defensive minded, and we still have our guys that are what we call stars, and Paulo and Franz. The Wagner brothers are looking
Yeah.
like a force.
It's almost
Definitely
like they've been
could
playing
be.
together their whole life.
I know, it's funny how that works. Told my
Um,
brother, I'm like, that's us right there. But I think they can keep this going. I've been very impressed with how their style of play. Coach Mosley's got them believing in each other, and they're a tight knit group. I think they love that. I think that's the important is the chemistry. And yeah,
mhm.
but I still think they'll fall back a little bit. But I still expect them to be a playoff bound, which is just really great to see.
What's scary about the Magic situation is the division. So they have the Heat and they have the Hawks in the same division. That's gonna be a battle to the end of the season,
Hmm.
and if they fall back in the division, then obviously then now they're looking at a 6 or 7 seed in the playoffs. You really want to try to stay away from that situation if you can, at all costs, really. I know that we were joking about the play-in tournament, but I think the Magic are looking pretty good in the bracket for that.
Yeah.
So even if the Magic can somehow make a run and what I'm a little bit nervous about is the fact that they're shooting their load a little too early, right? You wanna be gelling like this in March, not in November. But it's not like you're gonna complain about getting out to a hot start. It's just, there's no way you can sustain this. There's no way. Not with a team like the Magic. We're too young, right? Unfortunately, the front office failed the Magic from the standpoint of they needed to really find one veteran not named Joe Ingles to slide into this lineup to be able to help this team stay focused when the season is going to start getting rocky, because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
The Magic, you did mention that they have a really good defensive ball club, which is true. They're fifth best total defense. They only give up 107 points a game, which is upper echelon in the NBA. Where the Magic struggle is they're 22nd out of 29 in 3-point percentage. So when I look at whether or not a team can sustain a type of run like the Magic are on right now, I have to look at everything in totality. And if they don't have the shooting per se, you can't just rely on defense every night. Not in the world that we live in with the NBA, where everybody comes in and just shoots 53s a game. Those are going to start falling from the other side's perspectives.
Yeah. What are they shooting? Like
Maybe
33, 34%, something like that from three?
Yeah, I think it's
Maybe.
probably somewhere around that. I'm loving Wagner and Banchero. They're looking like a dynamic duo right now, and
Mm-hmm.
the best part about those two guys is that they're young. The Wagner bros are Michigan.
Yeah. Both
Yeah, so
Wolverines.
there you go.
I know. It's Michigan everywhere. I love it.
Now all the Magic have to do is go out and trade for Devin Vassell, and then get
I
some
mean,
Knowles in there, some
I
Knowles
wouldn't mind
blood.
that. Add him to Jonathan Isaac. Be a nice little
Yeah,
combo.
yeah, especially if J.I. can stay healthy. Good Lord, I really am praying for him to do.
Just give us a full
We'll talk
season,
about this
JI.
real quick. 4th and 31, it was a 99.99% chance for Auburn.
9.
Yeah, so for Auburn to win the game on 4th and 31. Now, just so rewinding it a little bit, they muffed a punt before that. So
Oh yeah,
Alabama shouldn't have even been in this position to have
they
the
had
4th
more
and
than enough
31.
opportunities to close that game out.
Oh, so did you look at the replay? Did you watch that live? Did you see what
Yeah, I
happened?
watched it.
What
I
happened?
watched it. I watched it live. It was prevent D with absolutely zero rush. They had
Zero
three
rush.
guys. They had three guys on the line, and they literally took one step forward and then just stopped.
Yeah.
Milrow had, it felt 20 seconds to just find
Yes.
somebody, and they're just running. And then you have a corner and a
Okay.
safety. It wasn't even a 3-man rush. It was just three guys playing like a zone just in case we're spying the quarterback just in case he
Yes,
runs
that's
for
what they were
30
doing.
yards. But
Yep.
you don't need three of them.
No.
The defensive coordinator, I don't know who calls that, but that was embarrassing. And then the corner's playing. He's just playing up. Spy the quarterback. If he's looking your way, then turn around. You had the guy in the corner. Your guy's literally right behind you. Just turn around.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but this
I
is
don't
the
know.
problem, is that if you're a defensive coordinator and you're trying to come up with a scheme to stop 4th and 31, which this is unbelievable that we're having this conversation,
It-
you can't rely on any DB to be able to hold coverage for 20 seconds, right? There's going to be a receiver that somehow slides to an open area at that point. It's just, there's too much time.
It's
So, yeah, they failed on the QB rush situation there. It just blows my mind what they were even thinking about. If you look at the replay, what they did was they had double coverage on the three receivers in the middle of the field, okay? But they left single coverage on the boundaries for some reason. And I'm like, okay. So Milrow probably didn't realize that at the beginning. It's high. He's scanning the field. Nobody's open. Nobody's open. And he realizes, okay, I'm not getting rushed right now.
Yeah, I think he
I'm
had time
just,
to look over to the sideline, be like, "Hey, do you
who
see
should I
somebody
throw to?
open?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just-
And so any quarterback in the world would see, oh, homeboy over there has got some pretty good positioning on that DB. Let me fire that on over there. It
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 was
it was a
horrible.
good throw, really good throw, really good
Perfect throw.
catch. The DB is out of position. He's out of position. But at the same time, he's one-on-one coverage for 20 seconds.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, he creeped up. He
Alabama
creeped
should
up a
have
little
lost
bit.
that game.
100% Alabama should have lost that game. I guess that's redemption for that. I don't know when that game was when they kicked the field goal and Auburn returned it 100 and whatever yards
Yeah.
to win.
I
So maybe
don't
that's
know. Yeah.
redemption time. Like the Alabama gods
Ooh,
are really just absolutely amazing.
they're
We
on their
need those.
side this
They
season.
are
And
definitely.
if Alabama wins next
Oh,
weekend, they're
could you
probably
imagine?
getting in. interesting scenario. If Alabama would have lost to Auburn last week, but then beat Georgia, do you think the committee would have put them in still?
I want to say no, but part of me says that they're not going to leave the SEC champion out.
Alabama would have dropped out of the top 10 with a
Yeah.
loss to Auburn, and then
Would have
I
to
don't know
jump
if they would have been
7
able to
spots,
justify.
maybe.
Yeah. They would have been screwed. They wouldn't have been able to put one SEC team in the,
You don't think a
playoff
one-loss
at that
Georgia
point. No,
drops to
because they
4?
lost the SEC title game. I think Georgia would have been out, bro. Um,
It could have
and
been.
I think Texas would have slid in, actually.
Yeah. Yep. I could
Oh,
see that. Thanks, Hugh Freeze.
they found TAMU finds their replacement for Jimbo in Elko, which is good news for the Noles because Duke was on the upward trajectory
Yeah.
there and probably not so much anymore. They didn't disclose how much he was going to be getting paid last I saw.
No,
Did
I
you
haven't
see
seen
anything
the
about that?
terms yet. What do you think? He's got to be in that 6 to 8 million, right? Somewhere in there.
He was getting paid 3, and then he had a $5 million buyout, which is so funny. Like
Which is
TAMU is just
pocket
paying
change.
buyouts like
Well, they
galore. They're
received
like,
a $150 million gift from boosters. If I don't know where their money comes from. It's crazy the amount of money that they just
150
are willing to
mil.
spend.
Yeah, 150 mil shouldn't go to a coach, bro. That
Well, I'm
they
assuming
not
that's to the athletic program, which then will then buy out Jimbo, pay him off, cover that
right.
tab, and then work on Mr. Elko.
It's a misappropriation of funds. If somebody gives a university 150 mil to make their team good, and they're like, let's spend that on our coach only.
Up there, there's
Like,
gray areas.
who is in charge of what's happening over there
The
that they can
NCAA, the
say,
NCAA as a governing body has got to be close to being on its way out, right? With
yeah,
everything that's
well,
going on, and just the way, it's to me, it's been a disaster. So I'd be surprised that they have as much pull moving forward.
it seems like they don't really have a lot of say in
Yeah,
what
how much do they
happens
have?
right now anyway.
Yeah, they're allowing conferences to suspend their coaches without even finishing investigations.
That is a very fishy situation. It's like they step in there, but they don't step in any other way.
I will say that I do the hire. I think he came from Texas. He was a DC
Yeah,
prior. I and like you said, what he's done with Duke, he's really turned them into a pretty solid team. You need defense in the SEC. He's got that covered. He just needs the right OC and put some points up. I think it's a pretty good hire from them. He seems to be a guy that can change the culture and get them back to relevance, hopefully.
I don't. It's an uphill climb for Texas A&M. You got University of Texas is now in the SEC starting next year, so you have your in-state rival right there. Which I would think that if I was a 5-star wide receiver, I'd rather go to Texas than Texas A&M any day of the week. And they're in the SEC. Texas A&M is maybe the 7th best program in the SEC at best.
Well,
I don't even know.
that's my guess is he obviously he coached there and I'm sure the money talks, but if I'm him with Stoops backing out from Kentucky, like to me,
Mhm.
I'm staying in those positions for the sole fact that the expectations are not as high. You're
Like
going to Texas
Kentucky and
A&M.
Duke.
Yeah, like Kentucky
Yeah.
Duke. Hell, if you get us 10 wins, get us ranked every other
Lifetime
year.
contract. Yeah.
It's the same thing with UCF with Malzahn. I'm like, look, like if I was and like Scott Frost back in the day, it's like I would have stayed, like because you're never gonna most likely as long as you could just keep being relevant, you're not gonna get fired. Texas A&M, you you damn well better perform. They're expecting you to be a top 10 team. They're expecting potential SEC championships. They want that, and that's what they're paying you for.
I don't know
And
why. I don't know why they expect
they
that.
shouldn't
They haven't been relevant in God
since
knows
they,
when.
yeah. I mean, they were decent in the Big 12.
I don't even know when Texas A&M has ever mattered to other places in the country. Like,
Johnny
when have you
Manziel.
ever been like,
It's
we got to watch the Texas A&M game? Like, who name a player that was even put them on the map like that? Did they ever have a player that was so must see TV that I'm not?
uh, only Johnny. That's the only guy I can think of. And
Oh yeah, they
mm,
had Manziel. That's right.
Mike Evans,
Yeah.
but he wasn't must-see TV. But
No.
Johnny was definitely
Mansell.
was must-see TV.
Yeah,
TV,
that
but
was
that's
it.
it.
That was the guy. Yeah, and they were top 10 then?
I feel like they were top 10, top
Yeah,
15.
they beat Alabama, I know, and
Yep.
that was like a big
Mhm.
deal. So that was their run there. Whatever happened to
And
Money Manziel?
he's chosen a different path.
Is he
I never
hanging
thought he
out
would
with
be
Colin
good.
Kaepernick somewhere?
Yeah, him and Cap are doing something together.
Probably
They're
with
doing
DeAndre Francois and everybody else. Um,
they're working in crypto now. So we'll see.
the Speaking of coaches here, Coach Prime ended his season 4-8. They ended on a 6-game losing streak. If you were a big time recruit, I don't know how you wouldn't think twice about heading out there after seeing the way that the season unfolded. I don't know. I would say he's got one season left at Colorado and he's gonna bounce anyway, right? Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, the season played out like I probably expected. That start
oh yeah.
was great for them, but the teams that they played were not good. That TCU game was masked by the ranking, and look where
Mhm.
TCU is now. So to me, it was just the hype was just not there. It shouldn't have been there, but of course it's prime time, and we all know how he is. But kudos to him; he was able to get some players to come there, want to play. Obviously, the recruiting class has been pretty decent, but 8 straight losses. If I'm a recruit, you better be second guessing.
Yeah.
You can't buy into it that much. Like,
You think Travis Hunter enters the portal?
I'd like him to, but no,
He's only got
I think
one season
he's only got one
left.
more season left, so
Yeah.
why not?
So you
And
think
he's
he's
going to
gonna
be a
waste
top
it in
player.
Colorado?
I think he stays.
Yeah.
I think he
I
rides it
I
with
think that
prime.
he shouldn't. That at best they'll go 6-6 next year, right? Like
Yeah,
they're not gonna compete for anything. So I guess the whole time Travis Hunter maybe just didn't even care about any of that crap in reality.
yeah.
They're joining the Big 12, right? I think they're going to the Big 12 next year. I don't know. They're gonna play like UCF or whatever. They're
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just think their schedule is going to be easier next year than it was this year. So I think like an 8-4 could happen. Baylor, Cincinnati, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Utah, Arizona, UCF, Kansas, Texas Tech.
It depends on how good those teams are that you just mentioned, because we don't know if
Well, I
Kansas
feel like
or
Baylor,
Arizona will
Cincinnati,
be good.
Arizona obviously looked good. It
You
would
know
be
what I'm
really
saying?
embarrassing if they don't get to 6 next year. He might
And
bounce because he's no longer welcome.
it would almost be a question on whether or not he's even a good coach at that point. If
No, that'd be
he's
my
got all
thing.
these 5 stars coming in and they're going 5-7 and 4-8, whatever the case may be, I would be really weary on whether or not that's even going to last over there. So it was interesting to see how it started, to see how it ended in just utter disaster.
It
They
did.
couldn't even get a win to save their life at the final stretch there.
I feel like in our early episodes, I may have called it.
We'll have to go back and check. I did notice that all the celebrities that were tweeting about Colorado, those
Yeah, I
tweets
don't
seem
think
to
I haven't heard Pat
disintegrate.
McAfee in a while. Screaming praises.
Or LBJ or that it was
Yeah,
everybody in the world was talking about this guy.
was on the prime train.
Let's move over to Don't Be Nasty. I know that Bijan sent in his picks so that everybody would know what not to bet this week. Let me see who he's riding with. Okay. All right. So the Pac-12 championship is Oregon and Washington. Everything in the world is on the line. Oregon is 9 points better than Washington right now. Who do you like in that game?
I do think Oregon's the better team. I think if you just base it on the eye test, that first game that they played early in the season, I do feel like Oregon probably should have won that. Great job by Washington to pull that out and pull the W. But 9 is a lot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what Oregon's done in the last few weeks, they have been blowing teams out. But I just think you still have Michael Penix Jr. They still have a potent offense when they're on. I just think 9 points in a Pac-12 championship, this is a big game. And this is too much. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Huskies and give me those 9. Give me those points for sure.
All
What
right.
about you?
I'll pretend like I'm Bijan.
Oh,
Burn. We're aligned here, Burn.
we
Uh,
are. I'm with you, Burn.
Let me give you a stout here. Washington covers the spread. I have to work on my Bijan impersonation.
We'll work on
Uh,
it.
but he also likes the Huskies +9. They looked really bad against Washington State last week, and they've had so many close calls to come down the final stretch. And Penix hasn't been looking good. He's fallen out of the Heisman race.
Oh, yeah.
He's still in there, but like from the standpoint that he's no longer even close to the favorite, right?
He's not going to
Um,
win. Yeah.
he's either injured. I know he's injury prone, so there could be an injury that he's dealing with. And Oregon has everything to win convincingly as well. If they win by 14 points as a one-loss team, they might even move to the 3 seed in the rankings. And
That's
obviously, you
my
have to see
prediction.
who loses and stuff. Yeah, so I think I think they're gonna come out firing on all cylinders, and I think they're gonna cover this. I think Washington had a great season. Nobody ever thought that they would be in the position that they're at. They're not gonna win this game. I would be shocked. And I don't even know if they're gonna be able to keep it within 10 points. So I'm gonna take Oregon -9. Florida State's -2.5, and Charlotte versus Louisville. Who do you got in that?
I, this is one I'm just going to have to go with my heart. Everything else says go Louisville. But they didn't look great against Kentucky. And I'm just going to chalk it up to Tate's nerves. First big game, rivalry week, playing on the road in the swamp. I think Florida State in general, we've overcome adversity multiple times this year. And we just continue to do that and find a way to win. I think the running game is going to be an absolute must in this game. We have got to get that going. We've got to get 150 plus yards rushing. I think we find a way. The O-line comes in clutch. Tate, another week with the number ones. Feel good about that. I think him and Johnny had a great connection this past week. Could see some chemistry. Him and Keon get going this week. I'm going to go ahead and just will this one. Florida State covers that spread. Come on, go
I
Noles.
think I agree with you, so does Bijan, but I'll say this. Louisville is better than Florida, obviously, but it's not like they're a world beater either, right? They beat Virginia by 7, and they had to come from behind in that game on a Thursday night. They looked okay against Miami. They put decent amount of points, and then they lost to Kentucky, which Kentucky's had a really up and down season. So they're beatable. It's not like they're LSU in my opinion. And obviously, as you pointed out, that we're dealing with a backup quarterback situation here for Florida State. But if you look at position by position groups, Florida State versus Louisville, Florida State has the better team, even with a backup quarterback. So it's up to Norvell to try to figure out how to get Rodemaker to be able to feel more comfortable than he did after in his second start against Florida, because that's obviously massive to these young quarterbacks that don't have a lot of experience. They have to feel comfortable, and they have to feel comfortable early. So hopefully they come up with a better game plan that's going to actually achieve that goal. You can lean on Benson, you can lean on the running game. Rodemaker has been playing his whole life with Jaheim Bell. They go back to middle school together. So I would have liked to have seen more usage of Jaheim Bell in the passing game against Florida. That didn't happen. Get some screens involved. That we didn't really use the screen game a lot against Florida either. So what's the quarterback's best friend when they're getting penetration from the defense? Hit them up with the screen. It keeps the defense honest. They probably will stop blitzing for at least a couple plays when that happens, because you just gashed them. Florida State has plenty of opportunity to be able to expose that in this championship game, and they're probably going to have to lean on that because of the conditions. Hopefully it's not too rainy and too sloppy of a game from that standpoint that allows us to actually run the offense the way that Norvell wants to. I actually think Florida State's going to cover this pretty easily as long as Rodemaker feels comfortable, and we're paying Norvell $8 million a year for him to do that. Texas, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma had every chance in the world to be the team to play in this game. but it's actually the Cowboys. What do you think about this one?
There's a lot of points, but Texas is
Yeah.
by far the better team. And this is the game that Texas needs to make a statement if they want to
Mhm.
even have a conversation of being in that college football playoffs without a lot of help, obviously. So I I expect Texas to come out firing. I expect Texas to dominate. I expect Texas to cover that spread. I just feel like they are heads and shoulders better than Oak State. So yeah, I'm going to lay the points. I'm going against my better judgment here with a 14.5 point spread, but I just think Texas is going to come out and really want to just blow them out and say, hey, look, we belong. Lay the points. Go Longhorns, please.
Bijan took Oklahoma State in this game. It's actually plus 15, but
I'm okay with that too.
I think Oklahoma State plus 15 is probably the play here. Texas hasn't really done a good job of blowing the doors off of people this season. And you have the Big 12 championship on the line. I think Texas is definitely going to win the game. If they can win by 28 points, that's obviously going to help their case with the committee. But Oklahoma State has a good opportunity to keep this game within striking distance. Whether or not they're able to actually win the game or not is a whole nother story. They're good enough. They're ranked number 20th in the nation right now. They've had some pretty brutal losses this season. They've had 3 losses altogether. But I do Gundy as a coach. I think that I'm going to take Oklahoma State plus 15. Texas, they're going to win, obviously, here with this type of spread. I'm going to err on the side of caution. You got UGA SEC title game. It's -6 now. We talked about Bama already. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
I'm going to go with the fact that the Alabama gods have done enough and they used all their magic last week in the 4th and 30 plus shenanigans over there. So I just feel like Georgia has looked really good these last few weeks. They're probably they're the second best team as far as most complete, them in Michigan. And I just feel like Georgia is better than Alabama. And Kirby is going to say, thank you, Saban, but you're not coming to the party. I'm gonna go ahead and lay the points and take Georgia on this one. I think Georgia shows up and says, we're better. And they're going to show why. So I'm thinking Georgia by 10. So an easy cover for this 5-point spread. I prefer
I
just the
would
money
have
line,
liked,
but
yeah, I would have liked this line. If it was -7, I would have taken Bama.
Mhm.
I think Bama's gonna keep it within a touchdown. They just are. Like, that's the way Nick Saban rolls. He's gonna be able to figure out what's happening in the first half and make adjustments at halftime and keep this game within a touchdown. It's almost guaranteed. Georgia's the better team, but they also haven't been dominant. They just beat Georgia Tech by only 8, right?
it was one of those pushover games. Let's just finish this off. We're done. We're
That
good.
could
We'll see.
maybe like a look ahead type game with Georgia Tech. But dominant teams don't normally do that. They normally just come out and dominate regardless and say, okay, halftime, this game's over. You guys can continue the second half with our starters on the sideline. That's not what Georgia was able to do. Georgia -6, I'll take it. It was Arch. Okay, so Ewers is hurt still.
Yeah.
Arch Manning came in last week and actually played, but Malik Murphy's supposed to be back for this game. So Arch Manning was able to get in there, and the Texas faithful, they were excited.
Look, I'll take Arch or Malik. I'm good. Or Murph.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be. I'll be interested to watch all these games. The Oregon game, Oregon Washington is actually on Friday, by the way.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Yeah, even better.
that'll get you some football
Nice
throughout the whole
segue.
entire weekend. Yeah.
Nice segue to college football weekend.
Yeah, but also, let's see, who did Bijan take? He took UGA as well. So,
Clean sweep. You know what that
um,
means.
yeah, you can take it to the bank, baby.
Do it.
We didn't miss NFL, but there's actually only one game in the NFL that really piqued any
Really
type of
matters.
interest. I
Yeah.
thought, but it's a huge one. It seems like Philly, every game that they play is a big one these days, but they did have a really impressive come from behind victory
Yeah.
against Buffalo, and Buffalo's just been reeling. But
Their
now you
chances,
got
though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Plenty. Overtime. But now you got San Francisco coming to Philly as well. Plus 2.5 is where the line's at for Philly at home. They're home underdogs. Who do you like in that game?
I'm liking San Fran in this one. I think this is going to be an instant classic. Going to be a great game, back and forth. Two great defenses. Obviously, Jalen Hurts played very well, 5 touchdowns this past week to, to pull his team from behind. But I'm thinking there's some Purdy magic. And I think San Fran finds a way to pull this out, make that NFC race a little tighter. And I think maybe that's just some hopeful thinking as a Lions fan, that maybe we bring it back and get Philly a second loss. But I think San Fran with the 2.5, take the points, could be a field goal at the end to win it, to win by 1 type thing, or 2, maybe not. Let's not go 3. I'm going to take San Fran, man. I think San Fran on the road. I know it's a risky pick, but I'm believing. So give me Purdy on the road. Take the points.
Burn. The stars have aligned.
Oh, finally.
Burn. I agree. I totally agree that the stars have aligned.
That's pretty good.
Bijan,
You're
yeah,
close.
Bijan took San Francisco as well. And this is going to be another sweep, actually, because I agree with both of you guys. And it's only a matter of time for Philly to lose one of these big games. They're good, yes.
Yeah.
And if you remember correctly, last week I picked Philly and I warned the viewers to stay away from you guys picking Buffalo for no apparent reason. You were just picking Buffalo just because,
We
right?
picked Buffalo to cover the spread.
Philly's bound to lose, and San Francisco has already gone through their little rough patch this season.
Yep.
They're right at the shift, big time.
Quickly. Mhm.
And they are very well could be the best team in the NFC, and this is their chance to prove it. So there's with good reason, San Francisco's the favorite in this matchup, which is insane to me because they only have 1 loss and the game's at Philly, and Vegas still thinks that San Francisco is minus 2.5. So that just goes to show you right there that it's just written all over the wall. This matchup is not for Philly, right? So it's going to be another clean sweep. So if you guys are listening to our picks and you're looking and searching, we had a clean sweep on FSU, Georgia, and the Niners Philly game. If just play responsibly, but those would be a nice little parlay there for you on a
We
football
may have
weekend.
to put our money where our mouths are.
Do you think that the 2 E's in the word "be" are silent?
That's deep thoughts right there. Because, yeah, they have to be. Because just a
Exactly.
it's not bees.
Yeah. So, we came to this discovery last week at a Thanksgiving dinner, and my brother-in-law was like, "Are the 2 E's in the word "be" silent?" And I was just like, "Come up with this crap, number 1."
Now you have to think about it. Now you're like, when you drink a cup of tea, is the E and A silent?
Yeah. You can easily say that as a nice little
Yeah.
dad joke, maybe on one of your dates or something.
I
I
can't
don't
wait.
know. Might not get invited back for a second date if you try to
I
use that
mean,
one.
obviously, we're so far beyond that. Might as well just throw it out there, see what happens. Maybe one of these days, somebody's going to be like, you know what? I like that. Let's go for a second.
Yeah, they're like, "Man, that guy was a cheese
Yeah.
ball. Where did he
Kind
come
of
up with
like,
that joke?"
kind of the E's and B are silent. So are the second dates. It's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
that would be a good one actually if she did that. See, that's where you'd be able to test their wit. So that's gonna do it for this week, connoisseurs. I know that you guys were either happy or sad, who knows, the fact that it was just me and Bern here going through all the content with you, but we really appreciate the fact that you guys took the time out to listen to our takes on what's happening this weekend. Let's see if we're right on our picks. We've been doing a pretty decent job on that. So,
Yeah, we've
hope
been,
you guys all had a great Thanksgiving.
yeah. No, guys, another great episode in the books. Thanks to the connoisseurs for tuning in another week. And we're excited to catch up next week after this big weekend of college football playoff implications with the conference championships. Excited to talk next week.
All right, connoisseurs. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later.